Thursday's game against Moorhead, they have a really good basketball team, and they took advantage of some of our deficits that we have, and we know that we have, and that we're continuing to work on with the team that we have, and we're also continuing to work on in recruiting. But I really liked the way our kids bounced back Saturday night. I thought the effort was outstanding. Even after the tough start, we never wavered from our game plan, and they continued to work. And the run we made in the second quarter kind of gave us that separation that we needed, and the kids did a good job of finishing that game.
That kind of run in the second quarter, as far as the scout is concerned, you said that was your scout. Do you feel like that this team can do that to every OVC team at some point in the game, and that be the difference between making the OVC tournament and maybe being at home at the end of the year?
I think so. I mean, we have the capabilities of going on a 5-minute drought offensively, and then we have the capabilities of scoring 10 points in 2 minutes. I mean, we have that ability with this basketball team, but I think basketball is a game of spurts, and up until Saturday night, a lot of times we didn't have enough of those spurts, and we kind of took punches and didn't punch back. But I felt like that we put several different score-stop-score segments together, and that's what we try to do. We work on that every day in practice, that score the basketball on one end, get a stop, and go back down and score again. And so we were able to put several of those runs together, and I think that helped us not only to make that big spurt, but to maintain that lead throughout.
From an offensive standpoint, you guys also scored, I think, 44 points in the second half when you had brought some of that press kind of off and had the lead. Do you feel like that's one of the better offensive halves that your team has had this season from a consistency basis to keep the lead?
Yes, and I mean, we made some shots. We're still not shooting the ball well. If you look at our numbers, our three guards that are playing the majority of the minutes don't have good numbers shooting the basketball, and that's something that we're trying to improve on, and something that's going to have to get better as we go through the OVC season, because you have to be able to make shots. But I think our defense created a lot of our offense Saturday night, and I think that that's something that we may have to do, especially if we're going to struggle offensively in the half court.
Talk about Burpo's progression. She nearly had a double-double on Saturday, and just coming off the bench, and thought it was her best game that she's had.
Yeah, she just keeps getting better and better. She's starting to figure it out, and when we can utilize her in that situation with full court pressure, that's what she loves to do. She thrives at it. She's outstanding. She knows the angles. She's done it for years. She has an advantage of being at the top, and the teammates behind her have a lot of confidence in her. I tell her it starts with you. But everybody behind her knows how hard she's going to be working, so it seems like that we pick up the intensity all over the court when she's leading our defense. But her ability to get to the rim and her ability to make shots is coming along, and when she's able to play on both ends like she did Saturday night, she will be a complete player for us.
Coach, you talked about these three guards that you have playing in Janika, Macy, and Lex, freshman, sophomore. Is that crazy to think that you're expecting so much and you want them to grow up quickly, but yet they still have so much growing to do at this point?
They do. I just got out of my individual meeting with Janika, and I said, what do you need from me? And she said, I need you to continue to be patient, because I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I know I do crazy things. I know I take bad shots. I mean, she's owning it. She knows, the reasons that I get upset with her. But, she reminds me, of what she is. She is just a sophomore. She's coming from a background of not really organized basketball. And so her learning curve's a little bit bigger, and maybe there needs to be a little bit more patience with her than I'm going to have with Macy and Lex. There's not going to be a whole lot of patience with them. They know that. They know my expectations. They know what to do. So sometimes they remind me just in our meetings that there is a lot of youth, and they are trying to figure things out. But the thing that I like best about our basketball team is the way we competed together Saturday night. And if we can continue to do that, then that's going to take care of some of those growth problems.
Talk about Thursday's matchup with UT Morgan and how your team matches up against them.
Well, they're as always, they're a very good team, very athletic. They've got a little bit of everything. Imani Robertson, their point guard, has been running the show there for a while, so she's a heady senior player that makes plays. Chelsea Perry on the inside is playing real well, but they have this 5-in, 5-out system where they're going to play 2 or 3 minutes at a time, and they're going to press you and trap you the whole time, and they're going to stay fresh. So that's something, our depth is not going to be what theirs is, so we got to be able to sustain that effort. And then, my girl Maddie, I mean, she's having a great year. I'm really proud of her. in what she's able to do. She'll always be one of mine. I don't care what color uniform she has on. So part of me is really proud of her and what she's doing, but part of me in watching them knows that she's going to have to be a big part of our scout. So it'll be interesting for the kids to go up against each other for the first time in conference play. But I know that when it's all said and done, it's going to be the same thing that it always is. We're going to be happy for whoever does well, and we're going to be for them anytime we can.
Have you talked to the girls about that, just going up against a former high school teammate on this level? And then for you, I know you did it last year, but going up against Maddie and coaching against her, it's got to be different for you.
We haven't discussed it. I don't think that. I think it's just an unspoken thing that they understand that we're playing UT Martin. They don't, they're not going to really think about it as going up against or who's going to get the best of each other. Our kids don't think that way. They just compete. They don't really necessarily get into all that. Anytime I have to coach against Maddie, it's going to be difficult because she's a great player. So having to prepare for her just in that, and I know her and I know her heart, and she's going to play just as hard every single night. She's going to play just as hard or maybe even harder against us because Maddie's going to want me to be proud of her at the end of the night, regardless of what she does. So I think you have to take all of that out. You have to take it out for me, and you have to take it out for our other kids, and I'm sure you have to take it out for her because it is a basketball game. It's Murray State versus UT Martin, and both teams have got to be ready to play.
Tennessee Tech sent a pretty clear message when they got a really big win against Belmont. As a coach in this league, does that send a message to you that perhaps the league might be as open as it's been in a while this year?
Well, Kim's a really good friend of mine, and wow, what a win. Really proud for her and her team. They won 4 conference games last year, and I talked to her a lot during the season because we both were kind of going through the same thing, trying to turn programs around. And we just talked to each other about just staying the course and working the process. And if we continue to do things the right way, good things are going to happen. And great things are happening for them. I mean, that's an historic win, a great win for her, a great win for that program. I think it does send a message throughout the OVC that the OVC is getting better. When I first came in, there were like 4 or 5 new coaches that came in with me, and we knew at that point that it was going to change. And I think in a short amount of time, it has shown with the emergence of Tech and with the emergence of the other schools that haven't been up there in a while. But I'm going to tell you, Belmont's good, and Bart does a great job. And I promise you they're going to have something to say. I'm glad we're not playing them next because I can only imagine how they're going to come out with fury to try to gain back that top spot. But I think getting to the tournament this year is going to be more difficult than it was last year because of the parity of the teams.
You talked about earlier in the season how much different your team looks when Macy's off the floor, but Saturday your team seemed to do just fine without her off the floor. How much has your team grown, and how much have you worked on situational play with Macy maybe not running the floor?
Yeah, I thought they really, really did a good job. I mean, she set out a whole lot, and we actually made our big run in the second quarter when she wasn't in. So that's just a test to the other kids. I thought we had kids come off the bench and gave us great minutes. Michaela Manley came in and gave us good minutes. Reagan Blackburn came in and gave us good minutes. Max coming in and give us good minutes, and then of course Alexis has a huge game. So I think it just goes to show that people are starting to realize that they can make an impact for us, and maybe Coach is loosening the reins a little bit, going into the bench a little bit to see early in the season, OVC season, who can come in and who can perform for us. And I thought all those kids came in and gave us a boost. Now, do I want Macy on the floor? Absolutely. But I think confidence-wise and going forward, if that happens again to us, that we should be able to sustain that.
Health-wise, how are you heading into Thursday?
Well, it's always something. Deaja's out. I don't think that the X-ray didn't show anything broken, but she obviously will be out for an extended period of time with an ankle sprain, and so it's just one thing. It always is, especially when you're trying to rebuild and you need all the pieces. We've already lost Gibson for the year, and losing another piece, but. You got to do what you got to do. You got to just take next play. You got to move forward. Other kids have to step up. So it's not ideal for us to not have as much depth going to Martin and SEMO, but you know what? That we're going to go to Martin and SEMO without as much depth. So my job to find a way to figure out how to sustain effort throughout the whole game, because we'll have to have it in both of those games to be successful.
You talked about Reagan Blackburn and Michaela. Do you expect to see them get more minutes this week with UT Martin and SEMO probably testing some of that depth?
Sure, they'll have to, and I think that they've earned it. I mean, they've proven that they can go out and that they're not going to, light it up. I don't expect them to go out and have 20, but just to go out and to make plays, to defensively be ready and in tune to what we're trying to do, and to just be leaders. And, Michaela is that leader. She's that energy. Everybody on the court and everybody on the bench wants to see her do well because she's that type of teammate. So sometimes kids just going on the floor just kind of ignite you in different ways, and she's one of those kids. And Reagan proves herself every day in practice. I mean, she's one of usually on the scout team, and she goes out and takes it to us every day. So she earns those minutes.